ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। कथंजन स्मृते यस्मिन् दुष्करं सुकरं भवेत् विस्मृते विपरीतं स्यात् श्रीचैतन्यं नमामि। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनकारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So yes, everybody knows today's topic, right? It is not a surprise or anything anymore. So yes, somebody has put in the group itself. So it is Mirabai is today's topic. So she is widely known throughout the country for her bhakti, right? So she is a poet also. She has done many beautiful compositions. Like the first session, anybody of you remembers the first person about whom we took session in Santvani? Is it Kurramma? It was Surdas ji.
Surdas ji, yeah.
So just like Surdas ji, when we were discussing about Surdas ji, we also described this, that one of his unique contribution, you can say, to Indian literature was that to bring Indian compositions to the level of, the dialects like Braj Bhasha and all these things, they were not really used as for, poetic embellishments and all these things. People used to consider that to be a very, lowly, or it was not considered to be a very excellent and remarkable achievement to write poetries and all in Braj Bhasha and all. But Surdas ji, Mirabai, all these people, all these saints are those people who actually brought Braj Bhasha and other dialects to that level, right? So many people think that all these poetries and all, it is coming out of intelligence, right? But actually, when it comes to devotees, this is not actually intelligence, but it is a spiritual realization that is actually bringing about all these contributions. Like my Shiksha Guru used to say that Brahmaji always thought that intelligence is the most supreme thing in this creation, right? We also think that way, that somebody is intelligent, we are very attracted towards that person. Somebody has a good physique, we are attracted. Somebody looks handsome or beautiful, we are attracted. Somebody has intelligence, we are even more attracted, right? He might not look good or anything like that, but we are very much attracted by seeing the intelligence of a person. Oh, this person is so, so smart, he is so out of the box. So who is the most intelligent person in this creation? That is Brahmaji. Because he is the direct disciple of Krishna. And the second thing is, he is the person who is engineering the entire world. He has 4 brains. So he is the most intelligent creature to exist, right? We all can never match his intelligence. Somebody might be a Magnus Carlsen in chess, or somebody might be Ramanujan in mathematics, or C.V. Raman in physics, or Einstein in physics, but nobody can match Brahmaji, because all these complex engineerings he has only done in this world, right? We cannot match his intelligence. So this Brahmaji, he thought that intelligence is the greatest form of, what do you say, intelligence is the most superior thing, because his entire body is made up of intelligence. Like just like we have this body, this is made up of 5 elements, right? This is a gross element. Then there are 3 subtle elements, right? Mind, intelligence and false ego. So our body, especially people who are living in this earth, our body has all these 5 components and subtle body also. But the composition is such that the earth element is more in our body. Similarly, somebody who has fire element more in his body, he is fit for the sun planet, right? They are more subtler, so we cannot see them. They are living in a different dimension, but they exist. Similarly, we see that in the serials, we see the devatas, sometimes they come, they disappear, sometimes they appear on their wish, they fly in the air, they don't touch on the ground. Why is that happening? Because their body has more of the composition of ether. Ether element is more. So because of that, they can actually reflect or pass through light through their body, because of which they can, make themselves visible to somebody if they want to, and if they want to hide themselves, they can just pass on the light through them, because their body is made up of ether. They are living in some other planet, so they are meant for that planet, right? So Brahmaji is actually made up of intellect. He is not made up of these 5 elements also. His entire body is made up of intelligence. So it is very natural for him to think that intelligence is the most valuable thing. So Brahmaji had this tendency of looking at everything through logic. And one fine day he came to Vrindavan. And when he came to Vrindavan, Krishna was actually having lunch with his cowherd friends. They were all sitting in big rounds, and they were having, delicious prasadam they were having. Everybody would bring different dishes from their house, and everybody had this tendency that first they will feed Krishna. No, first they will taste themselves and then they will feed Krishna, like that. So, say for example, Madhu Mangal is having a nice laddu. He will take it, he will bite it half and say that, oh, this is so sweet, Krishna, you taste it. Then Krishna is but Krishna is eating. Then after that, some other, Arjun Sakha will come and he will give something. And after that, some other Sakha will come, and all these things are happening. So when Brahmaji is looking down, he is first of all surprised that he knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because he is the one who summoned him. Not exactly summoned, he requested him to come. Right? So, he had went to Shir Sagar and he had only requested that, my Lord, the earth's burden is, increasing so much, so you have to come. Right? You promise in the Gita, so you have to come. So Krishna says that, okay, I will come. And when Krishna comes also, even in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, who is Krishna? Ete cham sab kala pumsah krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam ridayanti yuge yuge. So he is that personality who is Swayam Bhagavan, and he comes why? To destroy the enemies of Indra, who are the Asuras, the Daityas. So on behalf of Indra, Brahmaji had requested. So that's why he came. So Brahmaji is well aware that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But when he comes and looks at Vrindavan, he finds this beautiful sight where Krishna is sitting along some cowherd boys. Right? All of them are not even Brahmanas, they are cowherd boys, they are Vaishyas. And there is one Brahmana who is Madhu Mangal, rest of them are Vaishyas. They all are sitting, they are having their lunch, and somebody is teasing Krishna. Sometimes they would say that, Krishna, close your eyes and open your mouth. So Krishna will do that because Krishna is expecting something delicious to come. They will take a forest flower and put it in his mouth, and then Krishna will run after them and chase after them, and they are playing. Because they are small children, so they are playing. So Brahmaji gets bewildered because this is out of his syllabus. As per his intelligence, we see that Krishna has placed Vedas in the heart of Brahma. Janmadhyasya yathonvayaditarataschaर्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत् सूरय. So the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says that Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So Krishna has placed Brahma, the Vedas, in the heart of the Adi Kavi, who is Brahma. And as per Vedas, there is Shuchi and Muchi. Right? All the Brahmanas, they know what is Shuchi and Muchi. So there are some things that Brahmanas are supposed to do and some things they must not do. And why is that? Because of the Vedic injunctions. The Vedas say that. So similarly, there are some vidhi in which you feed the Supreme Lord. You must have a nice fire sacrifice. You will put all the dravya in the Agni. Then the Supreme Lord accepts. You keep it in front of the Lord. You have that Uchcharan of Vedic mantras. Then Krishna accepts it. But here, Brahmaji is saying a different thing. They are eating first. Then they are feeding the remnants to Krishna. We are supposed to do the opposite. We have to feed Krishna, take the remnants. So in Vrindavan, he is seeing something else. And he sees that even Krishna, he is a small boy back then. He is not even herding cows. He is herding the calves at that point. Right? So he is saying that even Krishna is eating with his left hand. No, he is drinking something with his right hand. In the left hand there is curd rice. Like that he is saying. So how can Krishna eat with his left hand? So that is where Brahmaji is getting bewildered, because now everything is going out of logic, out of intelligence. And for Brahmaji, intelligence is everything, because he understands everything through intelligence, right? We also try to find logic, ना? कि ऐसा क्यों किया, कि ऐसे कैसे राम जी ने छोड़ दिया सीता को ये बोलने पे, ऐसे कैसे गोपियों के साथ, because we are trying to put our intelligence. So Brahmaji is the supreme most intelligent, so he is putting his intelligence there. And he puts the intelligence and he is bewildered now, completely shattered. Ki no, Krishna must not be God then. And this is where the Brahma Vimohan Leela begins. And he commits a great offense of stealing the calves and the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna. He steals them away. And then after that, Krishna appears in all those forms and everything happens. So why I am making this point is, many of us, in fact all of us to some degree, we believe that intelligence is the most supreme form of thing in this world. But actually, the most supreme thing in this world is surrender. Surrender means to act according to the will of the Supreme Lord, without questioning them, without even asking for logic. No? The Brajvasis, they never ask for logic for anything. Krishna puts up a plan. Oh, come on, we will not worship Indra from today on, we will do Govardhan Puja. They know the repercussions, but still they say, okay, Krishna is saying, so we will do it. Vrindavan is known as Vraja. And Vraja in Sanskrit also means to walk or to move from one place to another. So the Brajvasis, they are not known for moving from one place to another. Now the most intricate meaning Acharyas say of Vraja is a place where everybody moves according to the will of Krishna. This is Vraja. Right? So all these poetries and all these things, some people may think that, oh, this is coming out of great intelligence. But actually it is coming out of a space in the heart which is more glorious than intelligence. Right? And that is devotion and surrender. Right? It is not easy to surrender to the will of Krishna. It is not easy to lose everything and say that, oh my dear Lord, if this is what you want, I accept it completely. It is not easy. Right? And in this story of Mirabai, we are going to see that how a person can personify such surrender. So since the beginning of her life, when she was a very small child, since then, she was certainly very difficult from all the children from her age group. Everybody in childhood, they are interested in plays and all. But she was a bit silent. She was a bit of introspective. Not very interested in playing and all those things. Like, she is not having a very fickle mind like the children around. Right? Even this parallel is seen in the lives of great souls, like Narad Muni, when he says to Vyasdev that about his previous life, he says that I was a child, but I was never interested in playing with my mates. I was not really interested in all these things in childhood. Right? I was indeed interested in sitting at the feet of some sadhus and listening about Krishna since childhood. Even when you see the story of Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you see that Prahlad, Shukdev Goswami says that sometimes Prahlad would sit alone and cry, sometimes he would laugh, sometimes he would dance. But you will never see a verse in which it is said that Prahlad Maharaj was playing with his friends. Because he was not certainly interested in playing. He was interested in Krishna. Sometimes we have this notion that bhakti is something which is for a very mature person. Or in fact, some people say that it is for old people. Right? But actually, if you read scriptures scrutinizingly, all these great personalities started bhakti when they were kids. They were very small. Right? In fact, one of the qualifications for bhakti is to become simple like a child. Only a person who is simple like a child can do bhakti. Somebody who is crooked, somebody who is having something else in his mind and he is something else on face. Right? Somebody who is duplicitous and who is making plans to cheat somebody. They can never do bhakti. Bhakti is only meant for such people who are simple-hearted. Right? Just like small children. Right? Childlike innocence, we say sometimes. So similarly, Mirabai was also not very enthusiastic as a child. She was very reserved and introspective like that. And since childhood, her mother, she was raised in a Vaishnava family. Her grandfather and all, they were great devotees of Vishnu. Her mother was a great devotee of Krishna herself. And she would, as bedtime stories, she would tell stories of Krishna to Mirabai. And she would imagine how she would be playing with Krishna and all those things since her childhood. So, one fine day, she and her mother, they were actually standing in the balcony of the palace and they saw that a great marriage procession is going on in the street. And all those Dulha and Dulhan, they are coming, they are on a, they sit on the horse and come and all those things happen. So she was born in a Rajput family. So she was a Kshatriya by nature. So she was standing, her mother was a queen and they were standing in the balcony and they were seeing. And Mirabai, out of her innocence, she is just 5 years old here. She, out of his sheer innocence, she asked that, who is going to marry me? Who am I going to get married to? She asked. And her mother, she has an instant reply for that. She just points to the Vigraha of Krishna in her room, which they call Giridhari. She looks at him and says that he is going to marry you. Immediately Mira goes and plucks some tulsi leaves and she makes a nice garland. She puts it around Krishna, Giridhari, and says that, now on you are my husband. Like that. So this is when she is 5 years old. Right? So after that, Mirabai is actually trained in all sorts of music and arts, and because she is a Kshatrani, she is also trained in all those weapons and all these things. She was brilliant in everything that she did. But at the same time, in her heart, she was always meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna. This is how we should be. As students especially, we must actually always have this inspiration in our heart to somehow serve Krishna through whatever we are doing. Right? If something that you feel that, like for example, if when I was a student, I was told that I must study very hard. Why? Because I have to serve Krishna in the future with all this knowledge that I am getting. Right? So sometimes we have this tendency of being lazy and not studying and saying that, oh well, this is Jada Vidya, with this I am not going to get Krishna, so there is no use. But actually the great acharyas and everybody, they were great learned scholars, but they learned for the sake of Krishna, out of surrender, not out of intelligence. Some people think that get this degree, and people will respect me for that. If you are studying, then your studies are not really complete, because vinayam vidwan bhushanam. A person who is learned must be accompanied by humility. If any kind of study is making you hard-hearted or making you proud, then that knowledge is of no use. Right? Scriptures say this way. So yes, so Mirabai was being trained like that. Her mother, she was her constant companion throughout her journey. When she was 10 years old, her mother leaves this world. So as a 10-year-old, she is a small child, and for a child, the loss of his or her mother is a very big thing, right? We cannot even imagine how we can survive without our mothers, because that is the most selfless form of love that you can witness in this world, right? There is no love like a mother's love for her infant. It is very selfless. So everybody in their heart, we have this tendency to love and be loved, right? Ultimately, what do we want in this world? We want love and be loved. There is no point if somebody is looking at us and telling that, oh, you are great, great, great and great, and once you leave, they are planning to kill you. There is no point, right? Ultimately, do we want all that greatness, or do we want to be loved? We want to be loved, right? So as a child, who is the person who gives us protection and the love most? That is your mother. So losing your own mother at a very tender age, it is a very heartbreaking thing. So Mirabai went through that, and because she was living in a palace, she, externally things might look very good, like she's living in a palace, there are a lot of servants and all these things, but that void which is created because of losing a loved one is far greater. We cannot just imagine what kind of a loss it is. So when Mirabai was going through all these things, the only solace that she had in her life was Krishna, right? She never lost hope. She only had Giridhari for her. She said that, okay, now I only have you. The same parallel you can see in many great devotees' lives. Like we had discussed about Pundanam, we saw that how Pundanam is losing his child, right? But when he is losing his child, he is getting more attracted to Krishna. Similarly, Kururamma lost her husband, the entire family abandoned her, but that only brought her close to Krishna. Narad Muni lost his mother in his previous life, but it brought him close to Krishna. So similarly, all these great personalities, when they are going through reversals in their life, it is nevertheless bringing them closer to Krishna rather than taking them away. We have this tendency of becoming depressed and hopeless and all these things, because that is a very human tendency to have. We cannot say that somebody is wrong because he is sad, because he is meant to be sad. This world, Krishna says that this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This world is temporary and also a miserable place. So what happiness you can expect from a miserable place, right? So if you are clinging on to things of this world, that this will make you happy, I am sorry to say this, but nobody has really become happy in this world by clinging on to things and depending on things of this world. It will never make you happy. It can give you some temporary petty pleasures, which will in turn change into big disasters, right? So my Guru Maharaj would say this, that you cannot always control the situation, but you can always adjust the consciousness, right? For example, there was a great devotee, an elephant devotee of Krishna. His name was Gajendra. So when Gajendra was trapped by a crocodile, he actually fought for thousands of years. Thousands of celestial years he was fighting and fighting and fighting. But ultimately he came to a conclusion that I'm going to lose this fight. I'm going to be devoured. And that's where he remembers Krishna, and Krishna as Ajita, he comes on Garuda, and he comes up and he looks at Gajendra, and at once when he is, when Gajendra spots the Lord, at that very moment Gajendra decides to pick up a lotus flower and offer it to Krishna. Right? Now what does this mean? He is between a fight. So he is in the midst of a war where it is to be decided whether he would survive or not. Right? But in a moment he adjusted his consciousness and surrendered unto Krishna. Right? So was the crocodile's prowess under the control of Gajendra? No. The territory was not favorable. Everything was in favor of the crocodile. He was going to lose the fight. There was all the reasons in this world to be afraid and depressed and have self-doubt at that moment. But Gajendra chose to adjust his consciousness to surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. And that is why Krishna delivered him. Right? So you have to help yourself first. Then only Krishna will help you. You have to help yourself by adjusting your consciousness. Whatever reversals we are having in this life, if we are devotees of Krishna, that is for a reason. Nothing is happening by a fluke in this world. Everything happens for a reason. Until and unless you accept and learn that why things are happening to you, the same things will happen again and again and again till the time you learn. Right? Like for example, there are people who have addictions. Like a very gross form of example. Many people tell them that don't do this, you will end up having cancer. But people continue to do it. Continue to do it. Till when? When they actually have cancer. So similarly, in this world, everything that is happening to you, there is some kind of a message of Krishna in it. Unless and until you open up the letter and read the message and accept the message of Krishna, till the same things will happen again and again and again in different forms. The forms will change, but the message will remain the same. Like my Guru Maharaj, again, he would put this in a different way. He would say that, actually constantly we are receiving two letters from two people. One is Maya and one is Krishna. Maya's letter is actually being packed in a very nice way. It is a gift. It is gift wrapped and it looks very beautiful and attractive and all, in all that way. So, but when you open it, there is misery inside. But Krishna's style is a little different. Krishna's gift would not look very beautiful. It is not very attractive. It is having thorns on them, and it can look deadly sometimes. But once you somehow or the other open it, you will find a love letter in which Krishna has written that I love you, like that. But what happens is, one has to have this tendency of opening the letter that Krishna is giving. What we do is, we accept the letter of Maya and reject the letter of Krishna because the Maya's letter is very attractive. That gift wrapping is very good. But nobody gets satisfied only with the wrapping. There should be something inside. There is no substance inside. Right? Like for example, when we are going through reversals in our life, I have seen that many people have this tendency of taking up to intoxications. What is really happening? Krishna has sent you a message which is full of thorns and all these things, which is not really attractive. At the same time, Maya is giving you an invitation with a nice gift wrapping that, oh, ye pee jao, bhul jao, so jao, type. All the drugs and all these things. We are neglecting the message of Krishna and going to Maya, and we are doomed by doing that. So all this depression and all these things are very normal, but we have to somehow understand that we have to get above them. And how to get above them? It is by accepting what the situation is for what it is. Accepting our mistakes. That is the first point. Whatever happens in our life, we have the tendency to put the blame on somebody else. ये इसके वजह से हुआ, ये उसके वजह से हुआ, मेरे वजह से क्या हो सकता है, मेरे वजह से कुछ नहीं हुआ है ना. वॉट एवर मिस्टेक्स वी हैव दिस टेंडेंसी ऑफ पुटिंग इट ऑन अदर्स. वी हैव टू स्टॉप दैट फर्स्ट. वी हैव टू एक्सेप्ट and introspect that what mistakes I have done because of which I am facing this. Like all the devotees you see, whatever bad comes in their life, they feel that, oh yes, I deserve more than this, I am getting less, like that. So similarly, whatever reversals Mirabai was facing at that point, she lost her mother, but she accepted that and she had put her heart at the lotus feet of Krishna, and Krishna took care of her. That is what happened, in simple terms. Things passed on really well for some time. For her Giridhari, they built a nice temple also in that kingdom. And after that, when she was 14, her glories was spreading far and wide. That she sings very well, sings nice bhajans, she is a great devotee and all these things. So, the king of Mewar, he came to know about Mirabai. And he wanted his son to get married to Mirabai. His name was Ranakumbha. So some people say Bhojaraja. His name was Bhojaraja also. So he comes up with a proposal to the grandfather of Mirabai, who was taking care of Mirabai at that point, and says that I want your granddaughter to be the next crowned princess of my kingdom. And it is a very big thing for Mirabai's grandfather to be recognized by the king, and the king is directly coming and all these things are happening.
Also Prabhuji?
No.
Is it a student?
Yes.
Oh.
NSS
student is it?
FLFM.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So all these, where was I?
Grandfather.
Yeah. So the grandfather, for him it is a very big thing. So what he does is, he asked Mirabai to get married to him. But Mirabai, she has already given her life to Krishna. So she is not actually willing to get married. But somehow or the other she cannot resist much, and she gets married to the crowned prince of that state. After that, initially the prince, he was very much attracted to Mirabai's devotion. So she has such a nice heart, and she is always thinking about Krishna. She has a very, she has never neglected the duties of a wife. Even if you take the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis also, they also never neglected their husbands. They actually were doing things very nicely. But in the back of the mind, they were always thinking about Krishna. Right? So we have this tendency of adjusting the circumstances always. If the circumstance was more favorable, I could have done more. If I was not married, I could have become a great sannyasi. Some people think like that. So that is actually running away from our responsibilities. Devotional service does not teach you to run away from your responsibilities. Right? If you take the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that there are two kinds of dharma. One is a swadharma, and second one is sanatana dharma. Swadharma is the dharma which is actually imbibed on us by Vedic scriptures. Right? As per the Vishnu Purana, Lord Vishnu is satisfied when we are actually following Varnashrama. And Varnashrama dharma is nothing but a swadharma of a person. So, like for example, if one is a grihastha, his swadharma is to take care of his wife, his children, to give them a favorable environment to do bhakti, and all these things are his swadharma. He cannot just neglect that and say that, oh, I am a devotee of Krishna, I can neglect that. Only when you are advanced enough, Krishna will snatch you out of all these things and take you to Vrindavan. You have to be advanced enough. So similarly, you see the gopis of Vrindavan, they were the same. They were perfectly, following everything. But at the same time, their hearts were always at the lotus feet of Krishna. If you take Prahlad Maharaj, in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will not find even a single verse where Prahlad Maharaj is actually neglecting his father. See, when Prahlad Maharaj even comes in front of his father is Hiranyakashipu, right? He has tried to kill him. But when Prahlad Maharaj meets him, he first pays an obeisance. Then after that, he touches his feet. Then after that, he addresses him in nice ways. Then after that, when he is asked, what is the greatest thing that you have learned? Then he says, okay, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu and all those things. But Prahlad Maharaj never neglected Hiranyakashipu. In fact, when Narasimha Dev asked Prahlad Maharaj that you ask for a wish, I am very satisfied with you. What does Prahlad Maharaj ask? He says that, oh, my father, he was not a very pious person, he was not your devotee, I understand. But you please forgive him. And that is when Narasimha Dev says that, oh, don't worry, the 21 generations has already gone to Vaikuntha. Because you are a great devotee. So, even in Mirabai's case, she was never neglectful towards her husband or her in-laws and all. She always did her duties and everything very diligently. But she would do it with a consciousness that I have to complete this somehow because I have to go to Krishna and worship him. Eventually, she asks her husband to create a temple for her where she can worship Krishna. And the temple is being created, and majority of the time she is spending in that temple only. Her in-laws and the family members and distant relatives and all become very much disturbed with her. We have seen in this world that people say that, Ari, ye to pagal ho gaya hai na? In the Pundanam story also we saw that everybody was thinking that Pundanam has gone crazy, right? So similarly, these people think that she has some mental problems. So she is sitting in front of a stone deity and speaking with him. For hours and hours she is sitting there only and all these things. So after a point, they come to her husband and say that, okay, she has some problems, it seems. You please keep a watch on her, right? In fact, for so much so that they are so envious of Mirabai that they say that she is having some affair with some other man. So that's why she is staying in the temple. So that guy would be coming and they would be speaking in the temple. So we are not going there. So she is doing all those things. And after that, even her husband, he also becomes suspicious and develops hatred towards Mirabai. One day, he just, there is Mirabai's sister-in-law, her name is Udabai. So she comes up to him and she says that, your wife, you go to the temple and see she might be sitting and talking with her lover now, like that. And he becomes so furious. He takes out the sword and he rushes inside the temple to kill her. And he opens and there is nobody. He asks her that, who is that lover of yours with whom you are speaking? So she points towards Krishna and says that Nandakeshwar is my lover, like that. And now even Vranabhoja, he is also not very, like all those qualities which were attracting him initially, it is now becoming a burden for him. He starts hating Mirabai. Why? Because she is also breaking all the social customs now. As a queen, she is not supposed to even meet men or other people from outside or lower castes and all. But once a saint from Vrindavan comes, his name was Ravidas, he comes to the kingdom, and Mirabai, she happens to meet him, and he is the person who is actually telling her all the Vrindavan Leelas of Krishna and all. And Mirabai develops a taste to go to Vrindavan. And this is where Mirabai actually accepts Ravidas Goswami to be her guru. So if you read the history, Ravidas Goswami is considered to be the guru of Mirabai. So she becomes his disciple, and she openly declares that I am a disciple of Ravidas Goswami, who by birth was a very low caste person. And this was not at all acceptable in that era. We are speaking about 15th and 16th century, where all these things were so prominent, right? So at this point, she has already accepted a guru who is from a very low caste. By the same time, she is also going out with her guru to people who are not very privileged, who are from the slums and all in the outer part of the cities. She goes there, and after that she is giving them some donations. Sometimes she is sitting there and singing for them, and she also in the temple also she sings on her tambura and she dances in front of everybody. So you imagine a queen, forget a queen, say for example all these mothers, you have a daughter, and all these people, you people have a sister. If those people, if they go to a temple every day, right, and in front of everybody they are dancing for hours and hours and singing, is it acceptable for you people in the 21st century? That is my question. Won't you tell your daughter to not go or sister to not go there because it is affecting our family's reputation? We have learned, heard so much katha and all these things. I have seen that people usually criticize all these personalities. They are like villains. But if we think from their point of view also, we are also like them only. We also cannot really accept devotees, for that matter of fact. I have seen this. People criticizing, Gaurang Prabhu was telling this once, that he was in an airport and he was giving some Bhagavad Gita or something. In the airport he was going somewhere. And somebody, he was there, he was asking Gaurang Prabhu that what do you do? What have you done in your life? So Gaurang Prabhu was saying that, oh well, I have done engineering from IIT Bombay, and then I was very attracted to Bhagavad Gita, so I have started teaching Gita. And now I have become a full-time monk. I am doing this. So he says that you are from IIT Bombay and this you are doing this nonsense. and Gaurang Prabhu says that, well, yeah, but I am from IIT Bombay, but how is this nonsense? This is a very nice thing, right? To preach the glories of Krishna and all these things. So that person says that actually I am very curious about people who are from IIT. Why? Because I am writing a book, like how to get into IIT. This is his book's name.
Okay.
So I am doing a lot of research on people who have already got into IITs. I go and research about them, like what was your schedule, how was your early life, how your life has changed and all these things. But now it seems after meeting you that I have to write one more book. And the book's name would be?
Not to get out of that.
No. What people are doing out of IIT. Once they clear from IIT, what people are doing, what all options do they have? Because I was thinking that somebody would be settling for a good big job and all these things, but here somebody is shaving up his head and doing this, right? So it looks very crazy. Like sometimes I have seen that in the signals and all, there are devotees. So devotees are distributing books, especially in the month of December. They have this book marathon. Yeah, Gita marathon is there. So they would go and people would sometimes, I have seen a YouTube video where one person is just blaspheming a devotee like anything. He's saying that you people have no job, you people have come with Bhagavad Gita, what is the use? If somebody wants, they will read. You don't have to force somebody and all these things. I remember in 2017, I was going to the temple. I was not actually associated at that point. I was going to temple with one of my friends in Mira Road. And when we had darshan and everything, and I was about to leave, and at that point one brahmachari caught hold of me, and there was my friend also. Both were, we were doing CA together, so we went to the temple. So that person told that, okay, you take Bhagavad Gita. So this was December. I don't actually, after years I came to know that why he was forcing us to take the Gita. It was a December, so it was Gita marathon going and he wanted his scores in place. So he was telling that, okay, you take this Bhagavad Gita, it is a nice book. What do you do? We told that we are students. So he told that, okay, as students you need concentration and everything. So you take the book, it is very nice. Krishna tells Arjuna that how to study and all these things you take. And कॉमन डायलॉग है अपना, अपन तो कभी किसी को ना नहीं बोलते हैं, तो पैसा नहीं है तो बोले कि पैसा नहीं है आपके पास, बोले कि नहीं मेरे घर पे पैसा है. तो मैं क्या करता हूँ, मैं रोज़ मंदिर आता हूँ, तो मैं कल पैसा लेके आऊँगा मंदिर और मैं लेके जाऊँगा साइड. बोले कि ओ वेल मुझे आप पे भरोसा है, आप ये लेके जाओ और कल पैसा ला के दे देना ऐसा बोले. Because he knows now once you go to temple, which means that you are not going to cheat him. यू विल टेक द भगवद गीता एंड गो एंड यू विल ब्रिंग बैक द मनी. मंदिर के अंदर कौन ये सब करता है? और टेंशन होता है ना अपने को हमेशा. एक तो एग्जाम अभी दिया है, पास होएगा कि नहीं होगा पहले से ही नहीं पता है. तो ये पक्का पैसा तो लाके देगा कल, तो दे नो इट. तो लेकिन नहीं कोई बात नहीं, मेरे को पूरा भरोसा है आपके ऊपर, आप कल ला के देना. आप रोज़ आते हो ना, तो कल ला के देना. तो थोड़े टाइम बाद मैंने बोला कि नहीं प्रभु, मैं आज ही अभी लाता हूँ, अभी मैं बाहर जाके लेके आऊँगा और मैं दे दूँगा. तो मुझे भी थोड़ा, मुझे ऐसा हो गया कि मुझे अभी कल मंदिर आना पड़ेगा वापस. तो मैं भी इसमें हो गया कि नहीं मैं अभी जाता हूँ घर पे, वापस आके ले लो. बोले कि हाँ ठीक है, तो अभी आप लेके जाओ, फिर अभी ला के देना. तो ऐसे ऐसे चल रहा था. तो वो मेरा दोस्त भी, वो कुछ नहीं बोल रहा है अभी, मतलब चुपचाप. थोड़े टाइम बाद मैंने सोचा कि ले ही लेता हूँ. मैंने उससे कुछ पैसे लिए और दे दिया, और मैंने भगवद गीता ले लिया. लेने के बाद में उन्होंने बोला कि एक्चुअली वी कंडक्ट मैनी प्रोग्राम्स हियर. कुछ प्रोग्राम्स है वो यूथ के लिए है, तो आपको ये सब सिखाएंगे हम लोग, फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट है, ऐसा. तो आपका नाम और नंबर दे दीजिए, हम लोग लिस्ट में ऐड करते करके. तो मैं नाम दिया, नाम के साथ में मैं नंबर दे रहा था. तो मेरा दोस्त ऐसे कर रहा था, मत कर करके. तो मैंने नेवरदलेस मैंने दे दिया. मेरे को तो कुछ पता नहीं था, मैंने दे दिया नाम. तो मेरा फ्रेंड था, उसको पूछे तो उसने नो थैंक्स बोला. तो वो ब्रह्मचारी भी, वो लोग बोले नहीं आपका दोस्त तो आ रहा है ना, आप भी आ जाओ साथ में दे दो करके. और उसने ना नाम दिया और नंबर दिया, और नंबर में एक डिजिट रॉन्ग दिया उसने, ऐसा कोई और ही डिजिट दे दिया उसने ऐसा. फिर बाहर निकल के मेरे को बोलते तू पागल है, ये लोग को सब नंबर नहीं देने का, तुझे पता नहीं है ये लोग क्या करते हैं, वो लोग जैसे दिख रहे हैं ना वैसा बन जाएगा एक दिन ऐसा. तो मैंने बोला ऐसा क्यों? बोलते कि तू न्यूज़ नहीं देखता है कि ये लोग ब्रेन वॉश करते हैं ऐसा लेके जाके, ऐसा सब, इसलिए मैंने भी तो गीता नहीं लिया, ऐसे सब ऐसे सब मेरे को बोल रहे थे. अभी मुझे पता नहीं इतने साल बाद उसको मैं ब्रेन वॉश लग रहा हूँ कि नहीं, लेकिन ऐसे सब बोल रहा था. तो बेसिकली वो टाइम पे अभी उसका भी जो मेंटालिटी ही इज गेटिंग फ्रॉम हिज होम ना, कि हर चीज़ जैसे कि हम लोग वो बोलते हैं ना कि हर चीज़ होना चाहिए, पर इतना भी नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा एक्सट्रीम नहीं होना चाहिए, एक लिमिट होना चाहिए. अगर ऐसा है तो कमाने में हम लोग वो लिमिट क्यों नहीं रखते, है ना? मैंने इतने सारे लोगों को देखा है 65-70 ईयर्स ऑफ एज, दे आर स्टिल स्टडीइंग, दे आर स्टिल स्टूडेंट्स. क्या अरे मतलब इतना क्या पढ़ रहे हो? अपने लिमिट क्यों नहीं रखा वो चीज़ पे, कि इतना एक लिमिट के बाद क्यों कर रहे हो चीज़ें? जैसे कुछ लोग हैं, मतलब वो लोग रिटायर, वो जैसे कि अभी रोनाल्डो है, मैं एक टाइम पे फुटबॉल बहुत फॉलो करता था. रोनाल्डो है 40+ हो गया, 40 पे लोग कर देते हैं रिटायर, ये अभी भी क्यों खेल रहे हैं? तो लिमिट होता है ना लाइफ में. सो पीपल टेल ऑल दीज थिंग्स बिकॉज दे वॉन्ट टू हैव एक्सक्यूजेस. आर यू फॉलोइंग लिमिट्स इन योर लाइफ? दैट इज द क्वेश्चन. Having equilibrium is important, but are you having? Only why in bhakti you should have equilibrium, and it doesn't work that way. So, and bhakti should be done limitlessly only, because it is not an act of the material world, it is the act of a spiritual world. So you should be limitless in bhakti, right? So in Mirabai's case also, they were all very envious of Mirabai. And they started plotting to kill her. And this is how things are getting tragic now. So they are restricting her like anything. And once she was sitting in the Giridhari temple, and she was actually speaking with her Giridhari, and her in-laws and all these family members, they would never come to that temple. Only outsiders would come there. They would never come because they were envious of Mirabai. They were envious to the matter of fact that they never believed only. They never wanted to go to that temple. But that day she was sitting alone, and Udabai, her sister-in-law, she comes with a glass of milk. She comes there and says that, oh Meera, since morning you are sitting, you have not eaten anything, you have this milk. And Mirabai is very happy. Oh, you have come to see my Giridhari, at last you have understood and all this. And she, out of her innocence, she takes the milk and she offers it to Krishna, and she drinks it. After drinking, Udabai is actually expecting, when is she going to die? I want to see her dying in front of me. But Mirabai is not dying only. She is actually singing bhajans more and more and more. And when Udabai actually heard her bhajan, there was a transformation in her heart. She started thinking कि मैं कितनी बुरी व्यक्ति हूँ, मैं ऐसे कैसे कर सकती हूँ करके, because those bhajans actually touched her. And after that she fell at her feet and she actually apologized and said that actually there was poison inside that milk. I am sorry. She says that yeah, I know. Then Mirabai asked her, how do you know? He says that you look at Giridhari, his throat has become bluish.
Ooh.
It is because of that poison. He has accepted the poison and gave me the milk. So that's why. And you don't worry, you don't have to be sorry. I forgive you. You go. So the devotees, they don't actually take offenses also. As devotees, we learn this. In the initial days of bhakti, for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, everything's happen, very nicely. Everything is like एकदम आनंद में हो, ऐसा भक्ति एकदम से ऐसा चल रहा है, ऐसा लगता है कि अभी अभी कल ही भगवत साक्षात्कार होने वाला है, ऐसे सब फीलिंग आता है अंदर से. मतलब रोज़ हम पढ़ रहे हैं, ऐसा रस आ रहा है भागवतम पढ़ने में, माला कर रहे हैं 16 सब हो रहा है. फिर उसके बाद में हमारे ही अनर्थ हमारे सामने खड़ा होना चालू करता है. एक टाइम के बाद में हमने जो जो की है ना पहले के, वो सब आता है सामने. एंड दैट इज़ वेयर पीपल लूज होप कि आई एम होपलेस. ये केस में जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई वॉज एक्चुअली इनिशियली आई वॉज वेरी मच इन ब्लिस एंड आई वॉज डूइंग भक्ति एंड ऑल दोज थिंग्स वर हैपनिंग. And I thought that, oh, I have become some, great devotee. Some notions, they come in our mind. And especially people around you. Devotees only glorify you. That is the biggest problem. Devotees, devotees around, they will always glorify you. Oh, Prabhu, your lotus feet, that is what I want in my life. You please give some dust. So people have that tendency of glorifying us when we are devotees. So, in home also. So because I am coming from a South Indian background, it is very alien for them. कि my son, he doesn't even eat kanda lasun, he does not drink chai coffee. So they are, sometimes they are very proud. Oh, मेरा बेटा तो प्रहलाद है, son. वैसा feeling. जैसे कि ना, the first time I brought the Bhagavatam, like my father's birthday, 2-3 years back. So I thought that I will give him a set of Bhagavatam. So I went to Mirabai temple. So there is a very senior brahmachari there. He is very kind to me. So I told him that, Prabhu, I want a set of Bhagavatam. So he actually arranged a set of Bhagavatam for me, and he personally came with me to give that Bhagavatam to my father, because Bhagavatam is Krishna himself in the form of a book. He said that because you are taking Krishna with you, I have to come and deliver that to you as a courtesy with Krishna. Somebody has to come. So he came and he gave the Bhagavatam to my father. And he told my father this thing, that my father, mother, everybody were there. It was so embarrassing. He told them, and now you read Bhagavatam and perfect your life. See, you have got a son who is like Prahlad. Don't become Hiranyakashipu. You read Bhagavatam and perfect your like that. And it was so embarrassing. And it is not just one time. Second time, my new housewarming, I invited him again. He came with a big gift. He came, and in front of all the relatives and friends, he is saying, oh, there is no wonder you are buying all these houses and all these things. The opulence will come to you now because your son is Prahlad. So Narsingh Dev will give you. Like that he is saying. And it is actually very... So initially... If it was in my initial days, I would have accepted that honor, to be honest. But because I had become a little, Krishna had shown me what I am from inside, so that's why I was humbled at that moment. But I came to understand that people glorify you around, and after a point, you only start thinking that, oh, I am something. It is actually Krishna's mercy that Krishna shows you what you are for real. So once I went to a client's place, I was working and I went to a client's place, and there is one person there. Just by his mere sight, my mind gets agitated. I had never faced such an issue with anybody. I am a kind of person, I don't actually, I get mixed up with people, like that I am. ऐसा कोई ऐसा नहीं बोलेगा कि इसके साथ बात नहीं करना ऐसा. But with that person, I don't know. The very first sight of him, I understood that ये तो game over है भाई, इसके साथ तो मैं बात भी नहीं कर सकता. And the entire assignment I have to deal with him only. And he made sure that in every couple of days he would irritate me. Somehow he will do something. He's going to irritate and agitate me. This went on. I actually, one day I was so out of control, and I just told him to get lost, and all these things happened. He told me that you cannot speak to me like that. Who do you think who you are? And I also went back to him. Who do you think you are? Get lost, like something like that. I told him. That day, I came to Radha Gopinath temple. I fell down at the lotus feet of Krishna, and I told that now Krishna, I understood that I am not a devotee. Is that, I was thinking that is that person trying to kill me? No. Is that person trying to ruin my life? No. It is just a professional thing. It is just between 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And I couldn't manage that also. Whatever he was doing, I was not able to handle that. He was just blaspheming. He is going here and there and talking about me. That I couldn't handle. From the very first sight, I was feeling agitated looking at him. I realized that actually how many light years away I am from bhakti. Here, devotees are trying to be killed. Their lives are trying to be ruined. You see, even if you see Ramanujacharya's life, Ramanujacharya was tried to be killed by his own guru. His guru only tried to kill him. You take Prahlad Maharaj's life, his father only tried to kill him. Right? You take Pandavas, everybody except for their mother were trying to kill them only. If you take all these devotees' life, you take Mirabai's life. Her in-laws, they wanted to kill her, eliminate her. But what is Mirabai doing? She has forgiven them already. Without even their asking for apologies, she has forgiven them. This is the quality of a devotee. To forgive. You ask for yourself, or else do one thing. Go home and take a paper and pen, and you write down and pray to Krishna for somebody you hate in your life. If there is somebody who has done something bad for you, you try to pray for their upliftment to Krishna. When you take the pen and try to write, you will understand that how much fallen you are, that you are unable to do it. Or else, when you write it in such a way that you will say that, oh my dear Lord, this fool, he does not know my greatness. You please give him good intelligence so that he understands my greatness and all these things. You won't write it as a clearly, but you will somehow or the other pen down something like that. This person has misunderstood me. I have not done anything wrong, my Lord. आपको तो पता ही है मैं कितना शुद्ध हूँ. तो आप इसको थोड़ा बुद्धि दो कि ये अच्छे से रहे मेरे साथ. ऐसा. You will see that the prayer will only be about yourself. The prayer won't be about that person. Or else you could not write only. You will feel it so unnatural because it is you and Krishna only. No. It's between you and Krishna. Nobody is going to know. Between you and Krishna, there is this tendency of not cheating. Because you know that nobody is looking at me around. So you don't have this tendency of cheating. Anyway, he knows me because he is inside my heart. So he knows whatever I am going through. So what is the point of putting myself as a great person in front of me? So when you write, you will feel it very unnatural to write. Naturally, that prayer is not coming out for that person. I cannot be a well-wisher for him. But the devotees, they are praying for everyone, irrespective of whatever they have done to them. Right? So Mirabai is actually symbolizing that. She has already forgiven and she has prayed to Krishna for their upliftment. And now this incident happens. Some other time before, a box which had a venomous cobra was sent to Mirabai's room. And she was told that it is a garland. And she just prayed to Krishna and she opened it. And it actually, the cobra turned into a garland. And there was a Shaligram Shila in the center. And she started worshipping the Shila also after that. So that Shaligram, it is said that it is kept in the Banke Bihari temple or Nidhivan somewhere. It is there in Vrindavan still. So the cobra, it actually mysteriously turned into flowers and the flower garland. One fine day, they actually placed all these nails and all these things on the bed of Mirabai so that she gets wounded and she dies eventually. But when Mirabai actually stepped down to the bed and she just laid down, all these nails turned into rose petals and rose flowers. So all these things actually happened in the life of Mirabai. Just like in Prahlad Maharaj's case, when he was thrown from the cliff, Krishna had put his hand to save him. Right? So similarly, in Mirabai's life also, see, we all these miracles, those things happened. One fine day, her glories had exceedingly, it was spreading all around. And one day, the emperor, some people say that it was actually Akbar. So Akbar actually had developed this desire to meet Mirabai. And he, along with Tansen, and we know that the Rajputs and the Mughals, they were actually bitter enemies. They were so bitter enemies. The Rajputs, they could never, accept the Mughals, right? And Akbar was known for his this thing, that like he never discriminated amongst Hindu, Muslims and all those things. He was very, very much devotional in that aspect. He was favorable for the Bhakti movement at that point. So Akbar, he developed this desire to meet Mirabai because he had learned a lot about Mirabai through several sources. So for Mirabai's bhajans and all these things. So him and Tansen, they decide to go to Mirabai in disguise. So one day when Mirabai was in the temple, it was late hours of the evening and night. So all the devotees, they had gone out of the temple. It was only Mirabai and Giridhari. And at that point, these two saints, they come. In, Bhagwa Vesh, they come. They come inside and they meet Mirabai and say that actually we are two sadhus. We want to hear from you. Your bhajans, we have heard a lot about it, about your devotion and all. We actually have a desire to hear from you, your bhajans. And Mirabai is very happy because it is a devotee's desire. So she wants to serve the devotees. So to serve the devotees, she is ready to sing. So she takes her tambura and she starts singing. And at that point, Akbar becomes so mesmerized. He actually falls down at her feet, touches her feet and puts it on his head. And he gives her a diamond necklace, saying that somebody had given me this, you take it. Mirabai places that on Krishna, her Giridhari, and both of these sages, they go away. Now, everybody comes to know that it was Akbar and Tansen. They had come in disguise. And the husband of Mirabai, she also comes to know about this thing. And when he comes to know, he becomes furious. Why? Because already she is breaking all these customs and norms. Now, a Mughal king, who is our enemy, and who is a Mlecha, he is a Muslim. He has come into the palace and he has met the queen of the palace. And the queen has accepted his gift also. And he has went away. Now this makes him very furious. He summons Meera and he tells her that you are not fit now for this palace. You get out and drown yourself in the river and die. That is the last thing that you can do because you are apavitra, ashuddha you are. Go. So Mirabai also, she leaves from there and she decides that okay, finally I can leave this place now. And at that point it is said that Krishna actually holds her. So she is going towards the shore and Krishna holds her. He pulls her towards him and he embraces her and says that you were always mine. You are mine and you will always be mine. You don't have to kill yourself. You come to Vrindavan. You will go. Okay? And that's how she goes to Vrindavan. Before this, there is a very famous incident where she writes a letter to Tulsidas ji. She was going through all these atrocities. So Tulsidas Goswami was quite famous at that point. The person who has wrote Ramcharitamanas. So she writes to Tulsidas Goswami that, Goswami ji, I am facing all these difficulties. I don't understand what to do. And Tulsidas Goswami, he writes her back in a doha. He says that actually Prahlad had forsaken his father. Vibhishan had forsaken his brother. Gopis had forsaken their entire family. Why? Because they were coming in between them and Krishna. If your family is coming in between you and Krishna, there is no harm in forsaking them. But wait for the right moment, Krishna will make arrangements. Then you may come to Vrindavan. And this was actually that moment where Krishna had making all the arrangements and took Meera to Vrindavan. So once she comes to Vrindavan, she almost felt as if, she was living as if a swan was kept with all the crows. Now she had come to other swans. She had left all the crows and come. So she was enjoying in Vrindavan. She was singing day and night, dancing in front of Giridhari, and all these things were happening. After some years, what happened is, her husband, he realized his mistake, because there was a great drought that happened in Mewar at that point, and some Goswami he had come. So he met her husband and he told him that, actually, don't you think that what you have done with Meera is very wrong? She is a very chaste and a great devotee of Krishna, right? You had done very, and that is the reason why your entire kingdom is suffering now, because of this drought, right? Only if Mirabai comes back, I think that things will be normal now. He goes to Vrindavan and he finds Mirabai and he falls at her feet and says that, actually, I have realized my mistake. You please come back. All these things are happening in the kingdom. At that point, Mirabai, she says that, she says that, oh, what is the use of me coming? I can't be your wife anymore and all those things. But he says that, no, for the sake of the kingdom, at least you come back and all these things. So Mirabai accepts, and Mirabai says that, okay, I'll come back, but I will only live in the temple. I will not enjoy anything in the palace. I will not live like a queen. I will live like a sadhvi and live in the temple only. So you should not force me. So he says that, yeah, I will make all the arrangements for you. You stay in the temple and all these things. And she comes back and she stays in the temple only, full time. And at that time, her husband also starts developing devotion to Krishna. He becomes a devotee. And they go for yatras also to Vrindavan, to Dwarka and all these things, all these places. One fine day, they went to Dwarka together, to the Dwarkadish temple. And when they went there, strangely, the temple was closed and Meera was in ecstasy. And he had never seen Meera dancing like that before. She was dancing in ecstasy. She was singing like anything. Everybody was very captivated by how Meera. And it was very unusual for the king. So he, caught her hand and he told her that, let's go back. Stop this, let's go back. And then Meera, she pulled her hand out and she told him that, why do you want me as your wife? There is no use to it. You can take my body back from here. You can own my body, maybe. But my mind, my heart and my soul, everything is with Krishna. You can never have them. What is the use of having me as your wife? I am a burden to you. You leave me, Krishna is calling me, I am going back. And at this moment, the temple door of Dwarkadish opens mysteriously and a light ray, a jyoti, an effulgence comes out of the deity and it is unbearable for everybody else. And Meera, when she sees that, she just runs into the temple temple door closes, and when they open it again, they see no Mirabai there, only a piece of her cloth which is there on the Dwarkadish. This is how Meera lives this world. And after that, the king goes back and happily thereafter in Golok Vrindavan. This is the story of Mirabai. Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any doubts or anything you may Ask.